Visionary. Welcome to another episode here at the Nothing for Granted podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking to those of you who maybe have never worked with a grant writer in the past. Maybe you are a for-profit business and are just intrigued by the possibility of securing funds that you don't have to pay back. Or maybe you are a freelance grants professional who is just wondering, how can I make this process easier for my clients? What are some really basic things that I should relate to them, that they should know before reaching out to a grant writer? So let's go ahead, let's get started. This one's going to be a good one. Welcome to Nothing for Granted, a space for aspiring grant writers who are tired of feeling undervalued, underpaid, and overworked by your understaffed nonprofit. Hi, my name is Eliana, grant writer, grants consultant, and freelance coach for Christian entrepreneurs. I live for long-distance cycling rides, iced chai lattes, and outdoor adventures with my 4 little beasts. I teach you grant writing strategies and freelance tactics that set you apart when launching and scaling your Holy Spirit-led business. I too was paralyzed by those questions. So paralyzed, in fact, that I launched my business twice, thinking maybe I should take another training because, underqualification. Well, 5 certifications on my wall later. But what if I told you that with a little basic knowledge and next to no experience, you too could launch a successful and sustainable freelance grant consulting business while pursuing that degree, raising littles, and maybe getting a tan on the beach? Permission granted to stop feeling guilty over leaving behind that organization that has you stagnant and to confidently and boldly step into the most elevated version of who you were created to be. You're here for encouragement, accountability, and a slight tough love kick in the butt. No goals, just standards. Lace up your combat boots, tighten up that ponytail. Girl, it's time to get to work. So before we jump right in, I just want to remind you that my freebie launches at the end of November. I want to make sure that you are gaining the most value from being here with me, right? When you join the podcast, you're here to learn, you're here to be inspired, you're here to be motivated. And I want to continue that conversation. I want to continue that ability to provide you high quality value. So be sure to join my email list at bit.ly/freelance grant writing. That will get you into the email list without worrying about spam, without worrying about crazy sales, none of that. I just want to be able to continue being of service to you guys as you build your independent grant writing, grants consulting, grants research business. All right, enough about that. I know you're already visiting bit.ly/freelance grant writing. Let's go ahead and jump right into the things that you need to know before reaching out to a grant writer. So number 1, you should be a registered business or a nonprofit. Your clients should know this. If you are the client, then you should already have an established business. What do I mean by that? You should be registered here in Florida. It's through Sunbiz. I'm sure that, all states have something that's comparable to that, but make sure that you have already registered your business. The only exception to this would be, for example, if you are a researcher or maybe an author, something independent where you are seeking grant funding as a creative or as a researcher. Maybe you're an anthropologist, like whatever the case is, but that is completely independent work. Otherwise, you should have your business registered or your nonprofit registered. Now, with that, I do want to just add a small caveat with this. Okay, I'm going to add this. As a newly registered business, it can be very difficult to secure grants. And so the organizations that I particularly like to work with are already at that 3 to 5 year mark, because they already have a little bit of tenure under them. They already really know how, their demographics work, their target audiences. They already kind of have a plan of sustainability in place. So the organizations that I work with that are pretty new are usually organizations that I work with in terms of consulting and just getting them what I like to call grant ready. Okay, so enough about that. Number 2, I would say that you need to know what you need the funding for. Okay, stop being vague. Stop being like, oh, great, you're a grant writer. I need money. Okay, awesome. Then we sit down and we start talking about, okay, what do you need the money for? Oh, I just need money. I mean, I could use the money for this and I could use the money for that. Okay, but what specifically do you need the money for? Do you need the money for marketing in Q2? Because that's when your biggest fundraiser takes place. Like, let's be super specific about what you need the funding for. How much do you need, so that we can best conduct the research in a manner that is efficient. We're not just looking for all things. We're looking for very specific things to help you achieve your goal. So when your client comes to you and says, yes, I need money, I need $20,000. Okay, let's itemize that. And you'll notice that your client will probably get a little worried, because they'll say, oh, okay, so I actually need to know what I'm going to use that money for. Yeah, because while there are unrestricted grants, most of them are going to ask you, okay, what is this money going towards? Especially as a for-profit, what is this money going towards? Map that out for me. So let your client know. We need to know exactly what you need that funding for. Number 3 is know your budget. I can't tell you, this recently happened to me. It hadn't happened for a while, but it recently happened to me where I conducted a discovery call with an organization. I did my follow-up segments, and finally the gentleman said to me, honestly, we are just kind of shopping around. We don't really have we're not really there yet. We're not really at the point where we're ready to commit yet. We just wanted to shop around for prices, and kind of see what direction we're going to go from there. Honestly, it's more than what we had anticipated. And naturally, in the back of my head, I was like, well, duh. Like, did you not do your research? Of course, hiring a grant writer is an investment. The amount of hours that we dedicate to the research alone, let's just leave it at that. Just the research alone is extensive. And there's no way that we're going to charge $20 an hour for the amount of effort and work that goes into this. And so I said, yeah, no worries. I'll check back in a couple months. So that was fine. But I think that, you need to know, and as a client and as a professional, you need to be able to relay like, hey, this is in fact 100% an investment in you, an investment in your business. And ultimately, this is something that you can utilize as more than just a way to secure funds. This is, grants research is really something that you can utilize even as a method of securing partners. I recently did this with an organization, with a few organizations, I would say, where I provided the grants research and I said, hey, I don't want you to just sit here and just look at this document and say, well, this is wonderful, I want you, kind of just digressing here. I want you to just think about when your client approaches you and they say, wow, yeah, this is kind of a premium price. I wasn't prepared for that. You have to approach that with, 1, the highest confidence. Okay. And 2, you have to approach it from a point of, yeah, but you do have any clue how much value you are gaining out of this? And if they can't see it, totally fine. They're just not ready. They're just not ready to go all in. And that's okay, right? That's totally fine. So I digress. Let's move on to number 4. And number 4 is a conversation that I like to have really early on in my discovery calls, because we are all busy. I like to relay to any of my clients, all of my clients and anyone that I collaborate with, I am a very busy person. Okay. And I don't really like the word busy. I like the word productive more, but my schedule is jam-packed between my children, between university, we have the wedding, and now it's holiday season, and I have birthday parties and holidays, and of course my business, and I'm working with a business coach, and we have so much. I mean, literally the wheel will continue to turn at night until it's 5 a.m. and I have gotten no sleep. I have such a busy schedule that I like to tell people, I get it. You're busy. You're running a nonprofit. You have a family. You have all these things that are going on. But I want you to understand that when you invest in this service, when you invest in me, I need you to be prepared to put in some work. I'm going to be emailing you. I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to be texting you that there is information that I need. And, saying, well, I'll get it to you next week. Sometimes that's not going to cut it. I need you to approach this with as much sense of urgency as I will. So have that conversation with them of, this is a collaborative effort. You're not just investing in me and saying, here, fix the problem. You're saying, hey, I want you to guide me through the solution to this problem, and we're going to work together to get there. I want to understand that process. It's really important. I've talked about this before in my other episodes. It's really important for me to educate my clients in the case that I'm not taking on any more clients. Maybe they want to come back and I'm at capacity. Or maybe they found a grant writer that they wanted to hire on staff, and they have to be able to relay certain information, right? So I need to make sure that I am best preparing my client for future scenarios, right? Best case and worst case scenarios. So I let them know, be prepared to put in some work. This is a collaborative effort. And has it happened in the past where they're surprised? Sometimes it's happened where they're like, oh God, I didn't realize, I would have to be so involved. Well, yeah, sometimes when we have to talk to the funders, you're going to have to be there. So be prepared to relay your elevator pitch. Like, come on, this is all a part of it. So those are the 4 things that I would say your client or you should know before approaching a grant writer. And again, I just want to recap it real quick. It's be a registered business, know exactly what you need the funding for, know your budget when approaching a grant writer, and be prepared because this is a collaborative effort in working with a grants professional. All right, Visionary, I hope that this episode has been helpful for you. If you're on my email list, I will catch you in your inbox. And if not, go ahead, join me at bit.ly/freelance grant writing. Before you go, don't forget to rate, review, and share this podcast with a friend that needs to hear it. See you in next week's episode.